What is the latest on the Rangers managerial hunt? What's going on? Are talks really in their final stages? Sources reporting on this, guys. Who is it? What is it? Where is it? Find out after this. Guys, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I am Owen James. This is your Rangers news update. It is Thursday the 16th of October. It is Thursday afternoon. What the hell is going on? You know, that's the question I think has been obviously at on the lips of many Rangers supporters. We discussed it on the pod earlier. Right, so there's news emerging. Sky Sports and a number of written publications reporting on this in the last sort of hour or so. Now, Sky Sports initially came out with the news that negotiations for the appointing Rangers' new manager were into their final stages. But like any final stages, there could always be hitches to those final stages. They also emphasised that Rangers sources were saying that talks are ongoing with multiple candidates for this job, although it's hard to believe there are still multiple candidates involved given the fact that there's been so many withdrawals. All of this came on the back news earlier that Steve Smith, Brian Gilmore, Rhys Owen, Sal Bibbo would be taking the first team for the game against Dundee United this weekend. Not obviously what a lot of Rangers fans wanted to hear. They wanted to hear an announcement. They wanted to hear the news that a new manager was on his way, and that would be the situation for the weekend. Not obviously that the under-19s, the B team coach, performance director and goalkeeping coach would be taking the team. However, Steve Smith and his staff have been taking men's first team training during this international break, with obviously given the fact that all coaches bar Sal Bibbo were cleared from Rangers pre-international break. Russell Martin and his cronies were gone. Now, so obviously Sky Sports, like I said, are reporting that we're in our final stages of negotiations. Now, the strong story that they were putting out, that it was Kevin Muscat that was the man that was going to be appointed, and that negotiations had obviously taken place with him. And then there was negotiations taking place with his clubs, Shanghai Port in the Chinese Super League, and that's where there could be complication. Now, it is now being said that has moved on a stage, and there's been further news as to who certain coaches could be that get involved with this Rangers coaching staff. So who could they be? What could happen with this? Well, we're going to try and find out a little bit of extra detail on this. So what has been reported by a number of written publications, and not just the Daily Rebel, is that Kevin Muscat has agreed a long-term deal to become the next Rangers manager. That is the conversation. That is the discussion that has been put out there. So a deal is now in place with the manager. Apparently, there's been successful negotiations which have taken place over the last 48 hours, and a multi-year contract is now in place. Now, you may be asking, well, if this is the case, why has there been no formal announcement? Why has no one come out and said, well, what, you know, this is it, he's the new manager? Well, apparently Rangers are now in discussions with Muscat's club, Shanghai Port, over compensation. Obviously, with Muscat being under contract, a compensation deal must be agreed with the manager's club, with Kevin Muscat's club. He is 52 years old, Kevin Muscat. He's expected to join Rangers after the 22nd of November once the season finishes. Now, that is thought to be part of that agreement and that release package that Muscat is allowed to stay, finish the season before he's allowed to move on, along with a compensation package that must be paid to get him out of his contract. Also, it's felt that Muscat wants to show that honesty and loyalty and stay in place to lead the team to a title. I think that's very, very, very admirable personally. Now, in addition to that, a compensation package must also be agreed for Kevin Muscat to bring his coaches with him. Suggestion is that 2 of his coaches from his Shanghai Port coaching staff will come with him to Rangers. That is Ross Aloisi and Vince Laredo. Gotta love a Vince. Ross Aloisi is 52 years old, another Australian former central midfielder who, through his playing career, played all his playing career, pretty much in Australia, apart from a few years in Switzerland at FC Arau, in France with FC Lorient, but then also spent a lot of time playing for Adelaide, in New Zealand with Wellington. In terms of that. Now, in terms of his managerial experience, he has managed West Adelaide. He was at Brisbane Roar as an assistant, Adelaide United as assistant. He was assistant to Muscat at Yokohama Marinos. He was manager at Brisbane Roar in his own right, but then came back to be the assistant to Kevin Muscat at Shanghai Port in China, where obviously they've had very great success winning the league last season. The other one who is thought to be in joining up with Kevin Muscat is Vincenzo Laredo. He is another coach that has worked very closely with Kevin Muscat, and again someone that Kevin wants to bring with him to Rangers. So again, another one that is obviously very close to Muscat. It's quite clear that obviously he wants to have his own men in place, and he wants to have people who he trusts alongside him, as any manager would. Now, in addition to this, it is understood that Neil McCann will take over the interim role as manager until Muscat finishes the season in China. Upon completion of that season, Muscat will then come to Glasgow with Laredo and Aloisi and join up with Neil McCann, who will be part of the coaching staff as well. So, all very more positive now. And it seems that there's more concrete news moving forward as regards this contract and as regards this deal for the manager. Look, it's not 100% guaranteed yet. Nothing is until a contract is signed, until a player or a manager is unveiled at Ibrox or however it would be done. Nothing can be guaranteed in this. At the end of the day, you are going to look at it and you are going to have a situation where a deal could fall through. And if that falls through, then obviously you then got to go somewhere else and look at what other candidates are available. I mean, look at this moment in time, I wouldn't have a clue who else is available, with the fact that Danny Rule, Steven Gerrard, Sean Dyche, Derek McKay, all these people have ruled themselves out of the running, for the manager's job. But it is, like I said, being reported not only by Sky Sports, not only by the Daily Rebel, but by others as well, that this is very much close. Now, even Heart and Hand in the last few minutes have said, well, barring any last minute hitches, we're close to an announcement on Kevin Muscat. But they did add, but it's Rangers, so you just never ever know. And I think under the present management system and under the present staff and under the fact that we obviously have idiots like Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell involved in this process, anything could possibly happen with this. But the fact that Heart and Hand now, a club partner, are also saying that it is pretty much going to be guaranteed and done very soon is also a major thing. Also, the chief sports writer of the Daily Mail, Mr. Mike Keegan, has also put out in the last hour, told Kevin Muscat to Rangers is almost finalised. So it does to me seem like this is a deal that is done, that Kevin Muscat will be unveiled as the next Rangers manager within the next sort of 48 hours, which I think is a very good move for the club. Be bringing in a manager who is very attack-minded, a manager who wants to play offensive football, who wants to get on the front foot, which is what we need in this. You can't have a slow, deliberate build-up. You can't have this boring possession-based football that Russell Martin tried and failed to bring in Glasgow. That just cannot happen. It has to be, for me, getting on the front foot, going after teams, going straight for the throat of teams, especially against those teams that are going to bring in that low block. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this news, latest developments, just bringing you up to date. Thanks for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe.